Hello, everybody. I knew it had been several weeks since I made a video, but it had been so long I had to go watch my last video to remember when it was and what I showed so I'd know what to show you today. And it was 6 weeks ago. I can't believe it. Time flies. Wow. And sorry, I've had a cold for a week and a half now. I'm almost over it. Almost. Feeling better, thank goodness. So I've been out of town twice and then sick the last week and a half. But I needed to get a video made before the retreat this week, Stitch West in Farmington, Utah, put on by Snug Harbor Crafts. Deb and Calf, so excited. That starts Thursday through Saturday. And I knew if I didn't get the video made before the retreat, then the video after the retreat was just going to be forever long, and that wouldn't be fun. One of the times that I was out of town, I went to Bear Lake with my daughters and my daughter-in-laws and my sister-in-law and husband, and we kind of had a crafting weekend up there. It was very cold and rainy. We were inside with a fire going, and it was going to be in the 20s the night after we left, so it was a great day to be inside the cabin and crafting and stitching. That was fun. So the big news is that Catherine, boss daughter, actually started a piece. She actually started a new cross-stitch piece for herself. And I made a little video while we were there, and I will insert that at the end so you can see that. Marie was also there, bossy daughter, and she also stitched. She has several pieces, whips going, and then she started a new piece, a Halloween piece. Tiny Modernist, the Halloween house. It looks like a house and it has all the, like a doll house, and it has all the people in the rooms. It's darling. It's way, way cute. We'll have to get her on here. Maybe I could do a video at Stitch West because both of my daughters will be there at least for a little while, I believe. So I could maybe show you her whips, what she's working on there, and Catherine's as well. I have to think about, maybe let's do finishes first. I've had several finishes. Last time I showed you Summertime. That was so close to being finished, and I have finished it. Summertime by Stitchrovia with the called for DMCs on, I think it's 32 count even weave. I'll put it in the description box. This was one of my Mania starts, and it was one of the 11 ones that I had assigned to a particular month to work on during the year because it was seasonal for that month. So this was the one I worked on in August, and I didn't finish it until the first week in September. As you know from my last video, I did work on it for the next couple of days after I made the video and then was able to finish it. And I also finally finished Twisted Band Sampler by Northern Expressions. It's been 3 years, I believe. It was a New Year's Day start, and I want to say it was 2016. So almost 3 years. Took way longer than I thought it would. All those specialty stitches are time consuming. But I love the colors. It has just been a joy to work on. Besides the tedious part of it being rows of borders, which you know how much I hate borders, but I love the colors and I love the design. Was very excited to finish that. 32 count. Oh, I have it right here. Lakeside Linen Bisque. The color is Bisque, and it's 32 count. And it's the called for Vera Soie silks that the pattern calls for. And then I also finished the Caterpillar Cross Stitch Mystery Stitch Along Seize the Day. That started in January and finished in September. We got the last piece in September. And that's been fun to work on, a fun summer piece. So excited to have that done. 3 finishes on a video. That's got to be a new record for me. Don't you think? And then the Mania start that I had assigned to September, as I told you in my last video, was Sky Blue Street by Soda Stitch. So I worked on that during September, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to finish it because it's quite a large piece, more than I can finish in a month. But this is what I got finished. This is the dress shop right here. That's the window of the store. And that's been a lot of fun to work on. I'll put it away now. It'll probably come up in my rotation again next year sometime. And then I think I'm just going to start in my whip bin and pull them out one at a time, because I've worked on almost all of my rotation whips since the last video. And in case you wanted to see the whip bin again, it looks like this in this bin from Hobby Lobby. Plus 3 more bags that don't fit in the bin because they're in bigger bags. Okay. This is Shepherd's Fold. It's by Shepherd's Bush, a collection of things. There's a box top and then several things that go inside the box. And I have the box top done. It goes in a round Amish shaker style box. Which one are we taking off here? So I have the box top done. And then I was working on this ruler holder. It folds in half, and then you sew the sides together, and then the ruler fits inside. And yes, this heart is stitched backwards. It's stitched so that it looks right on the back because of the way it folds. That's the way the heart shows. And then this back side gets covered up with a felt flower. And then I am working on this one, which is a needle book, I believe. I'll pull that picture out for you. And then I also have this part is already done. This is the pincushion. So I am working on this one, Cherish Life, and it is a needle book by Shepherd's Bush. So I was happy to get the ruler holder finished and move on to that part. I think I have 2 more pieces after this one, small ones. This is one I'd really love to have done by the end of the year. This, I believe, is on, yep, it's one of my Stitch 9 pieces with Farm Girl. That was a challenge she gave us to finish 9 pieces by the end of the year. That was on that list. Which we'll pull out since we're talking about it. And this one is finished now, so I can cross that one off. I just haven't done it yet. Still working on Victorian Charm. I'll show you that in a minute. This is my Shepherd's Fold collection that I'm working on. So I still have this little fob to do and this needle book. Needle roll has a name. I can't think of it. I'm working on this. I'll show you that in a minute. Finished this. Finished the stocking. This is the one I'm really worried about that I'm not sure is going to be done by the end of the year, but we'll keep trying. I finished Shores, and then this is my healing garden that won't be done until New Year's Eve because it's got a petal for every day. Which why I picked that for one of my Stitch 9. I don't know. What was I thinking? Okay, as you know, I'm made a stocking for my 2 daughter-in-laws this year, a Christmas stocking to match their husbands because they asked me to. And they both learned how to cross stitch 2 weeks before the weekend at Bear Lake. So they were both cross stitching at Bear Lake as well. Both finished their first project that they had started 2 weeks earlier. So that was impressive. And their stitching is beautiful. This is the stocking. I finished Hannah's stocking. You've seen that. I'm working on this one for Lauren. It's a music room with a whole bunch of musical instruments in it. And I realized I was going to have to step it up on this one to get it done in time, so I'm trying to work on this a little bit every day. Otherwise, it's not going to get done. So I work on it for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, if I have several hours to stitch that day. But it's coming along. That wallpaper is not my favorite thing. Too many little onesies and twosies all separated out with a bunch of blank space in between. That was a challenge, I'll have to say. And I'm glad it's over. I have to put them all back in or I'll lose all the pieces. This is all the colors for it. Takes quite a few. Okay, this is the Mania piece that I started for Mania in May. Stitch Mania, M-A-Y-N-I-A, if you're not familiar with that. It's just a fun activity a lot of people in the cross-stitch world do during the month of May. If you want more information, go to the Facebook group named Stitch Mania. It's mostly everyone just figuring out, they start a whole bunch of things in May. You can do it any way you want. There are no rules. But 11 of the pieces I started in May had monthly assignments. And this is, what month are we in? October. This is October's assignment. This is a stitch along that I'm kind of doing with Brian from the Flosstube channel, Blitz Stitch. He started on a different season. It's drawn thread, and they have one for each season, 4 of them. I believe he started on winter, and I think he has his done already. I started on autumn. And this is the one I'll be working on this month. It's a beautiful piece with several specialty stitches in the plants, the flowers on the sides of the house. And this is how far I've gone. Most of the house done and started on one of the trees on the side. These leaves are in a dinky dye marigold color, and it is so fun because it goes from greens to reds to yellows. You just never know what color the next leaf is going to be. I have really enjoyed stitching those on there. Loving the colors so far. There's some squash right here that are hard to see, but they'll show up better when I get the leaves and stuff on them. That piece, see if we can find the paper. Oh, it's on 40 count Newcastle Zweigart Silk Weaver sand colored linen with the called for silks. It calls for several brands of different kinds of silk. This is Victorian Charm that I work on Saturdays that I would love to have done by the end of the year. It will look like this when it's finished. It's a dimensions kit with the kit threads, and I used the kit fabric, which is 18 count navy blue Aida. And I finished the back stitching on this level and the top of this light, and I've started down on the next, which is where the front door and the front steps are. Just barely started down that way. Love this piece. I love how it looks. It's fun to work on. Has a few blended threads and a little bit of confetti stitching over in the sides where the green bushes are. But it's not so bad that it drives you crazy. But that has been fun to work on. I've been watching lots of BYU football games while I stitch on this on Saturdays. This is by Mon Ami Pierre. This is the name in French. Maisons et Nichoirs, which I believe, if I remember correctly, is houses and birdhouses, I believe. Can't remember now. This is what it looks like. This pattern is out of print, so you'd have to find it on eBay or something. Or stash and load, maybe. One of my vacations was to Disneyland with my husband, and so this is what I took on the plane, to stitch on the plane. And I stitched on it while I was there because it was an easy one to take with me. So I got quite a bit done. This is the middle house right here, so we're a little past halfway working on this house over here. This one has been a lot. Catherine helped me on this one, if you'll remember. I don't think it was this year, I think it was last year. She took it home for Mother's Day and did this whole fence. She finished the fence for me, clear down, and she put some of the windows in on each house because she knew how much I hated the repetitive. I like windows. I love houses. I keep stitching them, but I don't like how the windows are all the same. After you've stitched one, then you have to stitch another one, then you have to do it like 8 more times. So she put part of the windows in on every house for Mother's Day. That was so nice of her. And it is on 40 count fabric. Oh, I think this one is on pear, 40 count pear. I think that's a lakeside linen. And pear is sometimes green and sometimes it's more brown. This was a more tanny brown color, but it does have some green in it. I don't know if you can see that. It has a green cast to it. With the called for gassed threads, overdyed cotton threads. Per usual for my videos, the Words to Live By Mystery Sampler, the new section, just came out yesterday or the day before. I have not printed it out. I did look at it, opened my email and looked at it really quick, but I haven't printed it out yet. So I'll need to start working on that. It comes out the 14th of every month, I think. But I did finish last month's. This is what it looks like all together. You can still join. It's Tiny Modernist, Words to Live By, Mystery Stitch Along. You don't know what the next block will be until you get it. This is the one that I just finished from last month. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Today is a good day to have a good day. And I enjoyed that one. It was a lot of fun. And I love the sentiment. But I'll need to get started on the next month's. This is 32 count black linen with the called for DMC threads. In my last video, I told you I only had worked on 3 whips, but I forgot about the one that I had taken to Bear Lake in August and worked on. So I actually had 4 whips last time, and I haven't worked on it since then. I took it to Bear Lake with me this last time because I was thinking I should finish it there, but I was trying to finish Seize the Day, and so I didn't ever get to it. You always think you're going to have more time than you have, right? This is Wild Salt Air by hands-on design. And it's so close. I just need to finish the border and then add some little stars. They might be little splashes of water. I'm not sure what they are, but they're all over the middle. So not very much left to do on this. It is almost done. It is on, I think it's 32 count linen that I bought at StitchCon by Color and Cotton. And I think it was a special edition color. And I did not use the called for colors. I used Sulky threads because I wanted to try the Sulky threads. So I just did my own conversion of Sulky threads. And I just used the one. Sulky threads are so fun because you can just use one strand, even though it's on a count fabric that you would normally use 2 strands of floss because it's a little bit thicker. And it comes in lots of different colors, so it's easy to do a DMC conversion. So that is what I'm using for that. I'll put all the ones that I used in the description box below. I also took my Disneyland piece, my full coverage Disneyland piece, to Disneyland to work on while I'm there, because I always do. And I usually try and sit by the ride and work on whatever I'm working on in the piece. I try and sit by that ride while I'm there, while I'm working on it. So this time, I finished Dumbo last time. That's where I sat last time I was at Disneyland. This time I was working on the Casey Jr. train area right here underneath Dumbo. You can barely see him because he's coming out from behind the Matterhorn Mountain. So I sat by the Casey Jr. train while I worked on that. I posted a picture of that to Instagram. You probably saw it. I had to put it on these little 8x8 snaps because that was the only way I could fit it into my Disneyland backpack that I carried around during the day. I need to buy a bigger backpack so I can get more stitching in there. This is what it's looking like so far. And here's the part that I worked on. The Casey Jr. train and the greenery, all the trees and grounds next to it. It is really close to Storybook Boats, one of my favorite rides. So it's showing part of the garden greenery that's part of the Storybook Boats area where it's planted in sections, so you can kind of see the different colors of green are in a geometrical pattern back there on some of it. Because it's part of the beautiful plants that are in Storybook Land. The Storybook Boats. That is on 40 count dwarf. Picture this plus, I believe, with the called for DMC floss. That pattern is by Neni Design, N-E-N-I. I bought it on Etsy as a PDF download. It has the whole background stitched, and I am not stitching the sky or the background because I put it on blue fabric, so the blue fabric would look like the sky. So I'm kind of having to decide as I go around the edges of the design what part is I'll stitch and what part is just, it kind of goes from an ecru into white for the background, so I have to figure out what part is actually objects in the design and what part is just that ecru fading into white that is next to the object. So that's been a little tricky, but kind of fun. This is Band of Roses by Cross Stitch Antiques. I'm doing this as a stitch along with Linda in California. Although I have been moving very slow, Linda. I'm so sorry. It is on 40 count. I have to look this up every single time. Maritime white linen. And I'm doing it with DMC, except for this dark blue alphabet at the top. I changed that to a silk because I liked the coverage. Silk is a little bit fatter than DMC, and I liked the coverage better for this whole top part that's just going to be all this alphabet. So look, Linda, I got clear to I. And this, trying to do this border a little bit as it's the only border in the piece. It doesn't have a border the rest of the way around. Thank goodness. That was one of the reasons why I chose it. So it's just this border at the top, and I try and do a little bit as I go. But I realized about over here that I was off. My letters weren't matching up with the border, and I couldn't figure out why. It took me forever. This border is not symmetrical. There's a spot somewhere around right here where they skipped a row, and so those two little leaves, whatever you want to call them, are one row closer together on one of them. And of course I didn't notice that. I was just stitching along symmetrical, making them all the same. So I decided I didn't care. I'm going to leave it. It'll just end where it ends over here. It doesn't matter. I just have to remember that when I'm doing the letters and not count off of the border. And then this border also has, if you can see, I've done just a few of them right here, these little turquoise spots at the end of each leaf. Flower, maybe. And I realized that my alphabet, because when I counted off the border, I forgot about those little blue spots, apparently. My alphabet is one row too close to the border, which I also decided I don't care, and I'm just leaving it. I think it will look fine. So that's how far that is. Love working on that. It's such a beautiful piece. I'm enjoying that. I just need to get some more time on it. That, amazingly enough, is all the whips. I only have one, I haven't bought anything, and I only have one piece of mail, which was some Stitchy kindness that came all the way from Great Britain, from Gloria. She was so sweet. She had stitched this and knew that Catherine loved sunflowers, I do too, and asked if we would like to have it, and she sent it to us. It's by the Bay Needle Arts Sunshine. Thank you, Glow. That was so nice of you to send it all the way here so that we could have it. Catherine is so excited. We might stitch it together. I don't know. Let's see, first is old finishes. I pulled this out and did not iron it. I'll try and just hold it straight for you so it looks good. I believe the name of this is Beauty and Grace, but it's by Tree of Life Samplings. Jan Alexander is the designer. Tree of Life Samplings. A good dear friend of mine. I've stitched with her at several retreats that she put on. Wonderful, wonderful retreats. And this was a very fun sampler. I love these little spools of thread because the thread is satin stitched sideways so it looks like a spool of thread. It was just a fun design to do. Beauty and grace abound in my stitching place. It's got the fun house. Beautiful. She suggested that we emphasize the letters, our initials in the alphabet, so that was fun. Beautiful piece. Thank you, Jan. And then what I wish I was working on was this Cricut Collection Autumn. I bought this a few months ago. And my girls pulled it out when they were they wanted to start a couple new pieces before we went to Bear Lake for the craft weekend, and Marie was looking at this one. She didn't choose this one, but when she pulled it out, I thought, oh, I want to start that. But I have way too many projects going right now, so I won't start it. Might be part of my mania, though, list next year. Enjoy that. All right, let's check the list and see if I talked about everything. The garden we still haven't finished the water feature, but my wee village is doing really well. I'll do not today, but I'll do a little video of it before I take everything in for the winter so you can see what it looks like before and then maybe I'll take an after picture that its sad state after I strip everything, all the houses and everything out and bring them in for the winter and just the plants are left. Oh, and I told you about Catherine, and I'll put that video in now of her starting her new piece. I think that's everything. So my plans are to go to Stitch West this weekend and just enjoy it and have fun and lots of stitching, and then I'll do a video when I get back and tell you all about it and what I stitched on. And I hope you all have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.
Hi Flosstube! I am finally starting a new project.
Yay!
I can hear all of you cheering in the background, but Mom did it for me. So it's been since January that I finished the Project of Insanity, so I can't believe it's already been 9 months. But this is the project that I'm starting. Way less committal than the Project of Insanity. I'll probably start one of those someday, but today is not that day. It's going to be this project because it's really cute. I've had this project for a few years, and I probably got it at the craft center, right?
Probably.
And so I decided this was the one that I was going to do. I think I'm going to have to, I don't know about the colors. Look at these colors. They just don't look as bright as they do on the picture. So I might switch some of them out. So I'm going to try, I'm going to start stitching and I'm just going to do this little thingy in the corner and just see what the colors are. And then we'll decide from there if I want to change all the colors or not. And I've got my, I'm all ready to go. Decided I had enough needles I could just, this was the middle and then this was where I counted over and this is where I counted up again, so I don't have to do it again.
Counted all of that?
Yeah. Let's see.
I'm going to try not to get your pattern in the...
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're good. I can't see it.
Alright. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. I was right there. That's where it was. And I have to go over 5. I can't remember what the fabric is called either, of course, but it's this nice pretty like sky blue thing. Oops. I'm gonna go up here. Ta-da! I'm stitching again.
It's a historic moment.
Look, I went through the thread. Rookie mistake. Don't know what I'm doing anymore. There we go.
Lost all your skills.
Yeah, I lost all my skills. I'm a newbie again.